Good evening and welcome back to Maddie's Mirage, Spur of the Moment. Tonight, we're going to be talking about flu shots and self-bravery. Because, randomly, spur of the moment, I decided that I was going to get a flu shot today. I was down there by the pharmacy and I decided, hey, I have 2 hours to kill. Why not get a flu shot this year? And now, I don't normally get flu shots, and that's because I'm almost deathly afraid of needles. And anything really stabbing me. Like knives, forks, possibly a spoon if you know how to use one. Now, I know there's so many people out there who are needle phobic and afraid of needles. Now, I wouldn't say I have a phobia of them, but I will tell people I have a phobia. And that's just because it's easier to say that I'm really afraid of them than I'm scared to a point. Which, everyone's scared to a point of something. Snakes, insects, dogs. I was scared of dogs for the longest time, but now I have my own friends. And I, of course, love cats, although some people are afraid of them. Now, I said we'd also be talking about self-bravery. Now, as I mentioned, I'm afraid of needles, and I'm not a fan of the flu shot, or anything stabbing me. Drawing blood, giving blood, which are two different things, apparently. Flu shots, any type of, Hep shot, Hep A/C, Hep B, HIV, the human papillomavirus vaccine, any kind of vaccine. I'm not even a fan of watching people get needled. What is it? Shot? No. I'm not sure. I don't like seeing people have a needle put in them, if that makes any sense. Now, self-bravery. Because I'm afraid of needles, I, of course, decided to be brave. Now, a lot of people would characterize brave as going into a battle of some kind, fighting for your country, getting shot in the line of duty, but still going at it. One man in the UK, a police officer, continued fighting multiple assailants with only his baton, despite receiving several injuries. That we can classify as bravery. And what a brave man he is. But not all of us are meant to go into war and fight for our country, or protect and serve on the police units, or for the fire departments, running into flaming buildings and saving kittens and little kids. So, how can we be brave? Now, I'm glad you asked, even though I can't hear you, and there's no way I would actually know if you asked this question. So I'll just say it for you and pretend you actually did. Now, of course, bravery is defined one way, but self-bravery, it's the exact same, but for yourself. It's doing something out of your comfort zone. Doing something hard and difficult, possibly even arduous, that you aren't particularly fond of. It's something brave for your character. Now, my character dictates that I'm not a fan of needles or sharp things. So, wielding something sharp or getting a flu shot is pretty brave for me. And, of course, doing so without the supervision of my mom makes this a lot different. And although some people would say, oh, that's not brave at all, to get a flu shot. Well, what are you afraid of? If you're afraid of, I don't know, dogs, take one for a walk. See how hard that is. If you're afraid of snakes, hold a boa constrictor at the pet store. Or if they don't have boa constrictors, any kind of other fancy dancy snake. If you're afraid of heights, stand on the diving board at your local swimming pool. If you don't like the short one, the short one. But if you're fine with that one, stand on the tall one. Stand up there and look down and jump. Jump into the water, however far down it is. That is bravery, because it's something your character dictates is not for you. Heights, snakes, insects, needles. And it's showing just how brave you are to be able to push past your comfort zones and try it. To do it, although you know you're scared. Deep down, you might be terrified, but that's bravery. Now, self-bravery isn't easy. It really isn't. I decided spur of the moment, and I find it was actually pretty simple to do that. But I've also had practice. I've been getting needles for the last couple months to draw blood. So I've had a little more practice with needles. But when I first started on my journey of self-bravery to break past my fear of needles, it wasn't easy. I remember back in elementary when they were giving us the elementary shots, I was kicking and screaming, and they had to have 2 nurses restrain me because I couldn't do it. And it took a lot for me to walk into that pharmacist's office today and go sit down and take that needle. But it was a lot easier than when I was in elementary. A lot easier when I was in middle school taking flu shots and whatnots to go about with my life. Now, I remember when I decided that I wanted to try self-bravery. It was the hardest thing I could have imagined doing. Sitting there, just waiting for that needle to pierce my skin and inject me with whatever it was, the flu shot, Hep B, whatever. It was terrifying, sitting there. And I didn't have anything to look forward to after. Not being able to go get ice cream or a cookie or some candy just to feel like I did something good. So it was very difficult. But as I kept going and I pushed it, I've stopped being scared of needles as much as I have been. It's just a tool utilized by nurses and doctors and pharmacists to better the world. At least that's what I'm thinking. Who knows what the anti-vaxxers are going to think. And of course, I'm not judging anyone, because that would be a rude thing to do. But what are the anti-vaxxers afraid of? So, what are vaxxers afraid of? What are the phobic people afraid of? And that's fear. And bravery is just pushing past that fear and making a stand, whether it's for the good of the country, the good of the people, or the good of oneself. So, let me ask you, what are you afraid of most? And are you ready to start your journey of self-bravery to push past this? It might take you a couple weeks or a couple years. But just know, you'll always be supported no matter what you pick. Thank you for listening to Mady's Mirage, Spur of the Moment.